Hello everyone, my name is Sathyanarayan. Today we are going to take a look at a very important skill which students need to develop. Today we are going to take a look at how to develop our skill of speed reading. Now, many students ask this question, why should I improve my reading rate? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. In college and in your career, you will have a lot of material to read and little time to do so. Now, reading too slowly reduces your comprehension or understanding of the matter, and reading too slowly not only does not stimulate your brain but also decreases the interest in the text. You have the capability, about 1 trillion brain cells, and the visual capacity to take in a full page of a text in less than 1/20th of a second, which means a reading speed of over 500 words per minute is easily attainable. So, reading comprehension and the skill of speed reading not only help you understand large volumes of text in smaller amount of time, but also help you to understand them in a shorter period. So, speed reading helps you read and understand the text more quickly, which means it is an essential skill in any environment where you have to understand a large amount of information very quickly. And this could be your college, where you have to devour large volumes in a limited amount of time, and even in ever fast moving professional environment. Now imagine if you are able to read and understand the text in a shorter period of time, you would be saving a lot of time for either revision of the same text or for other activities. Isn't that a wonderful skill to have? Now everyone can double their speed of reading while maintaining equal or even higher comprehension. Yes, many students fear that speed reading means just reading the text in a shorter span of time at the cost of understanding. Students believe that reading quickly reduces their understanding or comprehension of the material. But this is not necessarily true. In fact, the average college student reads between a speed of 250 to 350 words per minute on fiction and non-technical material. A good reading speed is considered to be in the range of 500 to 700 words per minute, but there are people who can read 1,000 words per minute or even faster. Do these sound like tall claims? Well, let's see. If we practice, how about achieving these speeds ourselves? Now, what makes the difference between a person who can read with speed and a person who cannot? There are three main factors involved. First and foremost, you must have the desire to improve. Second, you must be willing to try out new techniques, however difficult or bizarre they sound. But most importantly, you must have the motivation to practice the techniques that you have learned. So, you need to have the necessary vocabulary, the understanding of words and the meanings, and you need to understand the subject matter. So you must have a good comprehension skill. So practicing your basic vocabulary and grammar is a prerequisite to make you a speed reader in English. Now, any increase in the rate at which you read is paralleled by an increase in the comprehension. Many students feel that this is not so. They feel the faster they read, the lesser they understand. But the case is the reverse. In fact, it has been shown that the faster you read, the better you can actually understand. So although there is at present little statistical evidence, it seems that plotting word by word or word reading inhibits understanding. Now what is word by word reading? Listen carefully to the way I read out this passage. Is that the way you read it in your mind? Although there is at present little statistical evidence, well, you don't go through the entire passage word by word. You pick up chunks of words and form them in meaningful boxes. Although there is at present little statistical evidence, it seems that plotting word by word inhibits understanding. See how I group certain words together? Now that is the way that we are supposed to be reading as well. In order to increase your reading rate and to increase your comprehension, you need to adopt the right method. Just like you just don't simply go into a gym and start hitting the machine in random order. You don't simply start reading more rapidly. In fact, this won't improve your basic reading habits and it results in lowered comprehension. So you must follow a regular step-by-step method to go about increasing your reading speed. Let us take a look at some factors that reduce your reading rate. As we have already seen, word-by-word reading is one of them. In fact, slowness of recognition and slow response to the material that you are reading is another one. Many students, while reading, have the habit of reading out aloud. They might have the need to move their lips or at least produce a sound when they are reading. I remember, as a child, my mom always used to insist that I should read out aloud. Now, she primarily did this because she would be working in the kitchen and she needed to keep a check on whether I'm actually hitting the books or reading a novel. But speed reading is actually not about vocalization. Another fault is faulty eye movement. Then regression, habitual or lack of concentration is a major factor which hinders your reading. We'll take a look at what exactly is regression in a few moments. Some people have poor reading speeds because of faulty processes of retention. Lack of practice in reading due to time constraint or a mere lack of interest in reading is a major factor which hinders your speed. There's a fear of losing comprehension. In fact, there's a myth that if you spend more time on individual words, then comprehension will increase. Believe me, it does not. Some people are habitually slow readers. I'm always a slow reader. How can I read fast? Well, my dear friend, that's just an excuse for not doing better. Poor evaluation. Which aspects are important, which are unimportant, that is not something which you actively process. In fact, you believe every single written word has to be understood. And that leads to absolutely poor reading speed. Similarly, the effort to remember everything rather than to remember selectively is a major factor which slows down your reading speed. So what are the basic conditions for increasing your reading rate? Well, a well-planned program which is designed to maximize your reading rate must involve certain necessary conditions, 4 of which are included here. 1. Before embarking on a speed reading program, please have your eyes checked. Often, very slow reading is related to uncorrected eye defects. Many students have the fear of wearing glasses and being labeled a nerd or a geek. So even if they have poor vision, they would rather not wear glasses. Well, style is one thing, but if you are very serious about increasing your reading speed, better have good vision. So there's nothing wrong in getting your eyes checked and to wear corrective lenses if you happen to have faulty vision. Eliminate the habit of pronouncing words as you read. You might feel the need to speak the words out aloud or at least vocalize them in your mind. Tell me one thing. Do your lips move faster than the rate at which your eyes can read? In a majority of cases, the answer is no. In fact, you can read out only as fast as you can read aloud. And you should be able to read most material at least 2 or 3 times faster if you do it silently. So try to concentrate on keywords and meaningful ideas as you force yourself to read faster. Stop moving those lips. Regression is something which I mentioned before. Well, regression means rereading an idea, rereading a word or rereading a sentence. When you're reading passages, sometimes you might come across words or lines which you're not able to understand at the first go. And what do? We stop reading ahead. We try to repeat our reading of that particular line and to see whether we understand it or not. Tell me one thing, if something is written in a language which you do not understand, does reading it again and again make the meaning any more clear? Definitely not. Then how do you think that rereading a word which you did not understand at the first attempt will make the meaning clearer at the second or third one? In fact, at times, poor concentration is the reason because of which we feel the need to reread. In fact, the average student reads at about 250 words per minute and regresses or rereads about 20 times per passage. Now, rereading words and phrases is a habit that will slow your reading speed down to a snail's pace. This is like driving a vehicle. If you are on an open stretch of road, no potholes, no bumps and no traffic, then you can steadily increase the throttle and reach extremely high speeds. But can you do the same on a crowded road? Every time you come across a bump, every time you come across traffic, you have to hit the brakes, which means your top speed does not reach the top levels which you could have done on a highway. Every time you hit the brake, your pickup is lost and you have to start from scratch. Well, regression when speed reading acts like traffic or speed bumps. It reduces your pace. So do avoid regressing. See, usually it is unnecessary to reread words, for the ideas that you want are explained and elaborated more fully in later context. It is not that the passage is randomly filled with sentences with no connection. If you are not able to understand a particular word or a sentence, I am sure the next few sentences would give a rough meaning of what was meant to be written in the previous one. Furthermore, the slowest reader usually regresses because his mind has time to wander. There is a lack of concentration, and that is why, my dear friend, you are regressing. Stop doing that. Now, develop a wider eye span. What is meant by an eye span? Well, it is the number of words that your eye can pick up at a single glance and transmit it to your brain. There's a wonderful tool available to help you develop a decent eye span, and that's the daily newspaper. Now, if you happen to observe, columns of newspapers are of a particular width. In fact, newspapers are printed in columns because it has been determined that the width of an average newspaper column is the average eye span of a human. So, you do not need to move your eyeballs from left to right when reading the entire sentence. In an ordinary book where a single line is stretched across the page, when your eye moves from left to right, you are reading. But when you go to the next sentence, your eye, when it travels from right to left, is not reading. In fact, it is stopped reading, which is equal to losing your speed pickup. So, when you are reading just from top to bottom, your eyeball does not have to shift from sentence to sentence. Your pickup is not lost. This helps you read more than one word at a glance. And since written material anyway is less meaningful if it is read word by word, it helps you read by phrases or thought units. So here is a hint. Pick up a newspaper. Can you read an entire newspaper column just from top to bottom without moving your eyeballs from left to right? If yes, excellent. If no, place the newspaper at a proper length and try to do so. The day you can pass an entire newspaper column without moving your eyeball from left to right is the day you have started having a decent eye span for speed reading. Remember, the effective reader adjusts his rate, whereas the ineffective reader uses the same rate for all types of material. Now, the most important trick about speed reading is to know what kind of information do you want from a document before you start reading it. Are you looking forward to pick up certain facts from the given passage, or are you trying to find out what is the underlying meaning of the passage, the summary of the passage, the tone of the author, and so on? So if you only want an outline of the issue that the document discusses, you can skim the document very quickly and extract only the essential facts. But if you need to understand the real detail of the document, then you need to read it slowly enough to fully understand it. So you need to first test yourself. In the material that you might have, you would have certain speed reading exercises. Time yourself when you read a particular passage and count how many words have you averaged per minute. Set this as your initial benchmark and then start practicing speed reading techniques and test yourself at regular intervals of time to see if these speed reading techniques are actually of any help to you or not. Remember, a skilled reader reads many words in each block and dwells on each block for an instant. Rarely skips back to a previous block of words because this reduces the amount of work that the reader's eyes have to do. In fact, it increases the volume of information that can be examined in a period of time. On the other hand, a poor reader is overwhelmed and spends a lot of time reading small blocks of words. In fact, he or she skips back often, loses the flow and structure of the text and overall understanding of the subject. A poor reader has irregular eye movements which make reading very tiring. In fact, a poor reader dislikes reading and may often find it hard to concentrate and understand the written information. Now remember, speed reading aims to improve your reading skills by A. Increasing the number of words read in each block, B. Reducing the length of time spent reading each block, 3. Reducing the number of times your eyes skip back to a previous sentence. In fact, to increase the number of words in each block, you require a conscious effort. So try to expand the number of words that you read at a time. In fact, regular practice will help you to read faster. You may also find that you can increase the number of words read by holding the text a little further from your eyes. And obviously, the more words you can read in each block, the faster you will read. Now, the minimum length of time which is needed to read each block is just a quarter of a second. So push yourself to reduce the time you take. Remember, you will get better at picking up information quickly. All it requires is a lot of practice and confidence. To reduce the number of times that your eyes skip back to a previous sentence, run a pointer along the line as you read and your eyes will follow. Now, some people have this habit of pointing at the text with the finger as they read along. But what do? The pointer or the finger moves at the pace that the eye is accustomed to. We need to reverse this process. Take a look at what I'm doing. I'm moving the mouse pointer at the things here. To reduce the number of times that your eyes skip back to a previous sentence, run a pointer along the line as you read. I read whatever was being pointed at. To reduce the number of times that your eyes skip back to a previous sentence, run a pointer along the line as you read. The speed at which you move the pointer should be the speed at which you keep reading. So, after every couple of days, increase the speed of your pointer and force your eyes to just read whatever the pointer is pointing at. Does not matter if you happen to skip words. Initially, this will happen a lot, but do not regress. And believe me, your eyes and brain are capable enough to adapt to the faster rate of reading. Let us take a look at 3 specific techniques called previewing, skimming and clustering. These techniques can often help you understand and read faster. Previewing is to read the entire 2 paragraphs and then only the first sentence of each successive paragraphs and then the entire last 2 paragraphs. So if there are about 6 or 7 paragraphs, you just read the first 2 and the last 2 and you just read a few lines, maybe the first and last one from the paragraphs in between. Remember, previewing does not give you all the details. In fact, many of the details may be skipped. But what it does is, it keeps you from spending time on unnecessary information and gives you a general idea of what the passage is about. Now, skimming, think of your eyes as magnets. Force them to move fast, sweep them across each and every line. In fact, don't consciously try to read, just try to move your eyes as if you are trying to analyze a picture. Skimming gives you a general impression of the text in less than half the time it would take you to read every word. And once you have practiced grabbing words through your eyes, skimming will often give you a general summary of the passage without even actively reading many of the words and sentences. Finally, clustering is about training your eyes to see all the words in clusters of up to 3 or 4 words minimum at a glance. In fact, clustering trains you to look at group of words and ideas instead of one at a time. So this is exactly the opposite of word by word reading, and this will increase your speed and comprehension enormously. So let us quickly summarize the tips that we saw today. First, make fewer fixations per line. Don't wait to think, to analyze before you move ahead. Just keep reading. Your brain will train itself to analyze on the run. Concentrate on just a few keywords in the line to get a general idea of what the sentence is about. You can avoid all the unnecessary articles and prepositions and conjunctions and so on. In fact, consciously, you should try to break sentences into logical thought groups. And we have seen a lot of bad reading habits, so eliminate all these bad reading habits, the biggest one of them being regression. So remember, Do not regress when you are trying to speed read. Most importantly, read regularly. Practice is important, so make reading habitual. If you know the theory but you do not practice speed reading techniques regularly, believe me, you are not going to see any change in your reading speed. As I've already pointed out before, you need to have good vocabulary and grammar. So improve your vocabulary. Strange words act like speed bumps. They interfere with understanding. So become familiar with at least one new word every day. In fact, a dozen new words every day doesn't hurt either. A few suggestions. Join a book club. Read every night before you go to bed. It need not be a school text. It need not be an entrance exam preparation material. It could be something as simple as the daily newspaper. It could be a magazine, or it could just be a novel. But remember, any material that you read, if you read with active speed reading techniques, you will see a regular improvement. So for that matter, purchase a newspaper or a magazine subscription, or visit the library every day. Television, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, computers. While all these things are good for information and entertainment, they are not going to help you improve your reading speed as far as entrance examinations are going to be conducted on pen and paper. So switch off these things. Don't let any of these interfere in your reading time. Practice a lot, and I guarantee you are going to see a drastic jump in the upward direction in your reading speed. My name is Sathyanarayan. You just had a session on speed reading techniques by IQue Ideas. Wish you all the best. Have a good day.